Hi, everybody. I'm Super Julie Braun, and I'm the founder of Super Purposes. And we have a program called How to Get a Job in 12 Weeks, particularly for MilSpouses right now. And I'm here with Rosemary. And Rosemary, why don't you do a quick introduction about who you are, where you're located, what you're doing right now, and then I'm just going to ask you a couple questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie, first of all, for the opportunity to be here with you today. I, as Julie already mentioned, am Rosemary. I am currently not just a MilSpouse, but I'm also working virtually. I am a sole proprietor to my own small company as a virtual assistant, web designer, and graphic designer. I decided to leave the on-site work opportunity that I was in last year, sometime in the fall. And I came across the course, and now this is what I'm going to do full time. This is what I'm dedicated to. I am really solid in a foundation now of virtual work, and I can't wait to talk more about this with you today.
Oh, that's so awesome. So I'm curious, what was your problem before you came to us?
So I didn't really notice that it was as big of a problem as I thought it was. I was just going through the motions. But like I said, last fall, my husband and I had hit this conversation that you typically hit very often as a male spouse of what's next or where are we going next? And it was such a struggle for me to get the job that I had at the time. I remember when I was doing my interviews with the executive directors for that job, I was selling myself as, not just a MilSpouse, not temporary, but I'll be 200% dedicated. And it was such a struggle. And they were so caught on the fact that I was a MilSpouse and that I was a temporary kind of person that they ended up offering me a temporary job versus the salaried full-time position I had applied for. So I ended up having to earn my way to the full-time and to earn their trust. And it ended up with me settling for not just a pay cut, but to settle as to think about the fact that I was an educated, that I had a degree, but I didn't have experience and it wasn't anywhere in what I wanted to be. So I ended up settling. And then I was there. And then once my husband and I hit that conversation, what ended up happening was I just started thinking about what to do next. And I realized I was going to end up going through the same thing again. So I did something about it. I looked into virtual work, which I had heard about maybe once or twice, but I thought it was more scammy than anything. I was like, I wonder if it's even really something I can do. I studied biology. So I ended up in this Facebook group for MilSpouses, and everyone had the same problem. A lot of us either lacked experience, lacked the proper education, or it was just the life that we had before is really hard to turn into something packageable and pretty to do anywhere and to take it anywhere. Nobody wants that. A company wants someone loyal, dedicated, long term, and I can do everything except promise you a commitment, for a long period of time. So that's when I found the course. And I think I was introduced to you through that free webinar on how to never fill out an application. And I was sold. I had been I was actually literally that person filling out applications. I woke up at 6 a.m., did it for an hour, took a break, and then did whatever I was doing here. And then took another break during lunch and filled them out during lunch. And then before bed, I was checking in at different times of the day. I was playing around with different strategies on filling out the applications. I was like, maybe if I'm the first one to fill it. And then I came across this one interview that I did for a virtual assistant, and the guy was like, you are 1 in 700 applicants for this job. Yeah. And so he told me right away. I mean, I got the offer, but I didn't end up taking it just because he told me, you're 1 in 700. If this doesn't work out with you, I have 699 other people.
So, Rosemary, we created that webinar specifically for you.
Okay, yeah, I felt like we were connecting and you were talking straight to me.
It wasn't for anybody else. Isn't that funny where we actually do the same thing over and over and over again, and then we find out, oh my gosh, all my competition is doing the same thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was.
So now I'm wondering, what has changed really since you had all those problems? What's changed since? Like, what's happened since you've taken our membership program?
Well, a lot has changed. What ended up happening was I went through a 12-week journey pretty much. every week or even like every couple of weeks during the course, I ended up with a strategy that built onto the one before. So, I mean, I started this course with no LinkedIn profile I ended up landing a virtual assistant job through networking, which is funny because the course, that's kind of what it encourages you to do. But it was just, I think, more luck than anything. And as soon as I started taking the course and started working through and learning all the strategies in it, I ended up being very purposeful and very intentional in my virtual sort of career. I decided I'm not just going to try and see if virtual work is right for me. I decided that that's what I was going to do and that I was going to be a virtual professional. And that shift, in addition to the strategies that you gave me, just completely put me in a different space now, which is why now I introduce myself and I'm like, I'm a virtual professional. I do this full time. I have my own business now because I had to register in the city, in order to do taxes and to run a good business. I ended up having to do all of that. So, and I didn't have a LinkedIn profile. And then I went from a no LinkedIn profile to what I feel like now is a killer LinkedIn profile from where I started. And I made the connections, and through those connections, I found the right connection. And then that right connection, I established that relationship, and that relationship led me to the opportunity that I now have with a new client. And it's been that way now, not just with LinkedIn. Now it's across other Facebook groups, local networking groups. Now that I know how to network virtually, it also translates into in person. So now I can network both ways, and it was something that terrified me. And to be able to do that now is
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh, that's awesome. You also learned how to negotiate too. So
Absolutely.
now before I remember you had said that you kind of took whatever it was and you settled. You kept saying, "Oh, I settled for that experience." And now you have a different mindset. I mean, I've seen a change with your attitude and your behavior, and it's amazing what can happen in 12 weeks, right? You're
It's
like a whole
it's
different
amazing.
person.
It's amazing. And when you mention negotiating, I just met this most recent client that I got. I just negotiated, what was it, over $12 an hour more than what I started at when I was first a MilSpouse and I took that regular job. I think well, that temp job I've doubled, but now the latest job that I earned there, I've been able to earn over $10 more an hour. And that difference, right? Nobody gets $10 an hour as in less than a year working a normal position, like working a full-time job, getting the equivalent of what that percentage would be for my two rates is really hard to get. And the fact that I was able to do that within the few months that I was taking the course and I was able to develop that confidence, oh man, it's killer. I love it.
Wonderful. I'm so happy for you. So, one last question. I'm
Mhm.
just wondering, what would you say to somebody who maybe was on the fence about either doing our program or not? Because I know sometimes people scratch their head and they're like, oh, I don't have the 37 or $47 to pay for a month to pay for this program. I don't have a
Mhm.
job. So what would you tell those people who are on the fence?
I would say that I was that exact same person. When I first saw the webinar, I took what I could from the free bit, and then it took me a couple days to really decide, I do want to sign up for the program, but I didn't have the money at the time. Again, I wasn't really working full time, I wasn't really stable, but what I did was I saved up a couple Starbucks coffees a month. I did some budgeting, I did some playing around with it. And because it's a monthly membership, I thought I'm going to make that first month investment and make the best out of it. And if it's absolutely changed, something, or if there's something that I'm doing better that's increasing my chances of getting that job, I'm going to keep doing it. And that's where I started. I saved up enough to pay that first month membership. I took the first sort of 4 weeks and I hit it really hard, made all the connections, did everything I needed to. And when I saw that difference, not just in the mindset, but also that I made the right connections, I stuck with it. And I thought it was absolutely worth it. And I'm sure that, if it was offered somewhere else or if it was offered, just because you and, the team that built this course together are so supportive of MilSpouses, I'm sure someone who may not have been as supportive might have charged 3, 4 times its worth because I think it's such a valuable course.
Thank you.
that I'm surprised now, right? At first I went in and, saying, wow, 47, that's a lot of money right now as a MilSpouse.
Yeah.
I can't afford it. But now where I am, I'm like, I would pay more if I found this course now and knew what the value of it was and understood that value. So that's what I would say. I would say give it a try. If you can't afford it right now, save up those extra couple bucks, because it's an investment in you. And if you get a return that's a full-time salary and that's virtual work, I think it's worth the money.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rosemary. Really appreciate it. Um, okay, everyone. Somewhere next to this video, we will have the link to our next fantastic webinar. We hope you join us as a military spouse. And even if you're not a military spouse, you can join us and you're going to learn something of value. All right. Thanks, Rosemary.